We are live. All right, team, what's going on? Seamus and Marcos here with another episode of the Macro Perspective. Before I get into this episode podcast, guys, we are well into our summer stretch. So by the time you're hearing this, probably going to hear about the summer stretch going on. But today, our guest is Lamar Smith. What we are going to talk about with Lamar is jujitsu, our passion for it. Marcos is just here for, trivialities. He's going to ask some questions. I'm just kidding. But no, it's a very important topic because we cover a lot of aspects about health in the show, right? And one of the areas in my life that I felt I can always point to that helped me with my mental, my physical, my emotional, everything in my life, I can point it towards wrestling and jujitsu. So, with that being said, Lamar, would you mind introducing yourself, where you're from, where you're at, how long you've been in the Jits game, and we can kind of just go down that conversation.
Yeah, man. My name is Lamar Smith, from Detroit, Michigan. I've been doing jujitsu for it's 5 years, maybe 6 years in a few weeks. Yeah, come up on 6 years. Now got my brown belt a few months ago, back in November, and just
Congrats.
been chugging along ever since, man.
For those that don't know, brown belt, and then it's black belt after that. So
Yes, it's
he's
one
he,
more.
he's right there. And Lamar also has a podcast as well. If you guys want to learn more about him, the Tokyo Jits podcast, which is growing apparently.
Yeah,
Um,
slowly but surely, man, it's growing.
they got it and all that. Look, I want to kind of just delve into it. What attracted you, or what started you in the space of jiu-jitsu, my man?
Man, I don't know. It was just one of those things I've always wanted to do. Like just from the few people that I've talked to, like on the street or at the gym, about we talk about jiu-jitsu, we talk about life and everything else. And I listened to a lot of podcasts, and I was like, I was searching for jiu-jitsu podcasts because, like, this is all I do anyway, so why not listen to it? And
Yeah.
I found a few, but I found some. It's like always like the high ranking people, like, like the big names in jujitsu, the people that you hear from. And I was like, it would be nice to hear, I guess you want to say, from the little guys, the white
Yeah.
belts, the hobbyists, the people who just stumbled upon it, randomly. So I was just going through Instagram one day, and I saw a video of a lady talking about how jujitsu saved her life,
Mm-hmm.
because she just lost her son,
Mm.
and she just saw how she was, coping with it. And it was just like resonate with me, because I've been in that situation where it's like, if I didn't have jujitsu, I wouldn't be sitting here. So
Yeah,
I was
man.
like, man, I wonder who else had, moments like that. So I just started playing with stuff and came up with this podcast. And 70 some odd episodes later, man, I've talked to so many people about jiu-jitsu. It's crazy. It's so crazy.
Yeah, I love it. Well, yeah, I know. If you guys want to listen, I think it's a great podcast. Listen to a little guy, listen to people how it saved their life. But my question again too would be is how did it start for you to get into jujitsu? Was jujitsu
Oh, jiu-jitsu. Okay.
how did that? Yeah, how did that start for you? Clearly, there, like, was it hey a friend invited you in, or was it I was watching some UFC and I was like, oh, it looked good. I want to try that choke. Like what is it for you?
Honestly, it was so random. It was a random
Yeah.
day. I was going to work, but it was like a GNC that was like a little further down. So I would usually stop in there every now and then. And the guy that was working there at the time, he was like nursing his arm. And
Mhm.
I asked him about it because we've talked a couple of times since I've been working at the mall. He said, "Oh yeah, I train jujitsu." So I was like, "Okay, cool." And we started talking about it, and I've heard about jiu-jitsu, never really knew about jiu-jitsu, but
Mhm.
he was like, "Yeah, man, you should come try a class," and blah blah blah. Tried a class, got mopped. It was like, no, I gotta learn more about this. So ever since then, man, I just been hooked. Like, I just been going.
Yeah.
It basically found me, pretty much. I didn't find it. Jiu-jitsu found me.
I think that addiction kind of comes from the moment when you realize, man, I have absolutely no answers to any of this. And it kind of gets your brain going to basically go like, well, how do I figure this out? I know Marcos, like we both do CrossFit, Marcos, how was like that first time for you when you did like your CrossFit class, like your first legit CrossFit class? How was that for you, dude? Oh, I think I'm on a little bit
Oh,
of a freeze. There you are. Marcos, you there, brother?
Yeah, dude. Sorry, I'm like lagging like crazy. This windstorm in Vegas is a pain in the ass.
I hear. No, what I was saying was, how was your first CrossFit class when you first had that first one? Do you remember like how that felt?
Yeah, man. My first CrossFit class was at a university. So I was at University of Nevada, Reno, and I was like, that looks intense. Sign me up, you know? And the rest was history. Now we're like 11 years deep into it. But the thing I think I fell in love with, and I think what a lot of people fall in love with is the community aspect, right?
Yeah,
Like you build off of like being around other people. They're motivating, they're holding you accountable, and you're all kind of, I mean, a lot of times it's like in Reno, you were with a bunch of beginners. So I think like us talking about, people getting started in jujitsu, it seems like it's the coolest thing since sliced bread right now with everybody, right? Everybody's like getting started probably because like you can roll with people that are different belt levels, and like as a white belt with like a brown belt, right? I'm getting this like analogy probably, again, like from a third party, but they're saying essentially that the person who is, that higher tier, effectively can teach you so much in such a like in a short period of time. And it's like you can gain so much knowledge from it. And I think what drives a lot of people into a lot of things these days is like the community elements, finding what that sense of community means to you. And for
yeah.
me, it was like being around my peers in a college campus that was like so unique, and we were kind of niched, and it was kind of nice to be the niche that talked about fitness. you know
No, I know that. I know exactly what you mean. I remember my first CrossFit class. And I still remember my first jiu-jitsu class as well. Lamar, like kind of on the floor, dead. um, but jiu-jitsu itself was, I had done jiu-jitsu even before I had wrestled. So I did some jiu-jitsu before uh, wrestling in middle school, then wrestling into high school, then wrestling into college. Um, what I loved about jiu-jitsu was it was always a puzzle. I don't think for me, jiu-jitsu is not an athletic endeavor for me. Wrestling definitely is because that's definitely more athletic. I mean, they're both super athletic, but I think in a sense of like being a hobbyist, like not a professional, like not being like a person that's like going to competition, it's more of a mental game for me. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna do this move. What's the 7 moves this guy's gonna try to figure out? You know what I'm saying? And that's like what got me obsessed. Like I became a technician of like I'm for example, right now I'm fleshing out this there's a little nuance, but I'm fleshing out this sequence, guys, for those listening that don't know anything about it. I'm doing a sequence where I could grab legs or I could grab an arm. So do I submit the legs or do I submit the arm? And it's kind of the sequence of like, I have to figure that out, and it's a sequence that it takes a lot, but it takes a lot of like practice and mental and vision. But yeah, for jiu-jitsu, for you, Lamar, other than getting your martial arts aspect in there, kind of like the community, what else have you found about jiu-jitsu that's been super impactful for you in your life? I mean, you've been doing it for 5-6 years. Where do you see it translate into your life, man?
man, just 2 words, man. Mental stability. Like
I love that. I love that answer. Mental stability. Tell me about that.
mental stability, man. Because growing up, you just deal with so much stuff on the daily basis. Especially now being an adult. I'm a husband, I'm a father. Working full time, trying to just juggle everything, man. And just like your mind just going a mile a minute every single day, and just being able to have that under control now is such like a blissful feeling, because I roll. I guess you want to say I mentally roll with everything in life now. Like if it's an issue, I'm like, okay, how I'm going to deal with this? Like you said, like if I'm going to attack the arm or we're going to attack the leg, if I'm going to do this or I'm going to do that, I do that with everything now, and it helps me. It definitely does help me like figure out how I'm going to handle my day. So it
Yeah,
is
being more
it's
adaptable.
oh yeah. Mentally, oh man. I can't stress that part enough how much jujitsu has helped me mentally.
Yeah, I think that's like something that Marcos and I talk about a lot. Like fitness is this great thing, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Fitness is a great thing, but I think sometimes there's a component where it's beyond fitness. Like for example, like I didn't do jujitsu for 6 months because I had a finger injury and I need my fingers for work. And I was like, I'm gonna avoid jujitsu for a little bit just because of this injury. Um, and it's a small injury, but the thing is, I've had my fair share of injuries, and like my whole left side at one point was not working. And I just go, any injury for me now, I don't try to push through. I don't try to act like
Mm-hmm.
a hero. I just go, I'm gonna give my body rest. It's asking for rest. Jiu-jitsu is gonna be here forever. It's not going away. So I tell myself, go get the rest. But I remember about 6 months in, jiu-jitsu for me is kind of like it's like my muse. It's kind of like my calling. So I have to do it once in a while for my like spiritual communal health, because you can work out. Like Marcos and I can get our workout in. It's good. It gets the check box off, right? It gets the check
Mm-hmm.
box off, but it doesn't allow you to explore, right? It doesn't allow you to explore creativity. It doesn't allow you to explore presentness. I feel that there's types of workouts like CrossFit workouts or jiu-jitsu workouts, right? Or jiu-jitsu classes where it's like you absolutely have to be so focused, because if you don't do that clean correctly or that deadlift correctly, there goes your back. There goes your back
Mm-hmm.
forever. In jiu-jitsu, it's the same thing. If you don't focus, guess what? There goes your arm. There goes your leg. And sometimes I think you need that. It doesn't have to be intense, but I think you need that kind of focus in your life where in that moment you are just so dialed in, just locking into everything. And I
Yeah.
just I just feel like you need that sometimes in life, right?
Yeah, like I think what it is, because like when you look at workouts,
Yeah.
like you have an idea what your workout's going to be throughout the day. Like you have a set, what you're going to do for your arms, your back, your legs, and blah blah blah. But with jujitsu, you kind of have to think on the fly, and you have to think fast on the fly, because your setup that you think you're going to go for goes out the window if they make one little small move. So it's like, shit, now I gotta now I gotta think to fix this, and you can't do that while worried about everything else.
Yeah.
You
Being
No,
definitely
present.
you'll lose a limb. Yeah, gots to be present in the moment, because as soon as you like take your mind off of it, it's gone. You're done.
Yeah.
yeah.
The cueing, Seamus, like you said, with CrossFit, I guess there is a lot of similarities to this element, because my wife says that she doesn't know how to like cue her glutes on squatting, for example. And I was like, you've been doing CrossFit for like 10 years, girl. You don't know how to squeeze your ass like through a squat. And she's like, what do you even think about during that? I was like, literally, it's just your mind focusing on that like connection. Not that you actually are always doing it, but like in the movement, you're thinking about that simultaneously. And she's like, I can't do it. I like literally like, I'm like, yeah, like being present there, maybe slow it down, stop going so damn fast.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm.
me and my buddy Zach, who's L4 CrossFit, seminar staff guy, like
That's next level.
yeah, like he would say the same thing. It's like the ability of doing it slower in the beginning is so that when you are doing it at high intensity, it's like it's automatic, right? But a lot of
Yeah.
times that high intensity step is the first step, and they're not building like the fundamentals, right?
Oh yeah.
And I mean, this reminds me of the year we did exceptional in baseball. And it was, I'm gonna say it was my senior year, right? Senior, junior, I can't remember. But our coach that came in at the time did this. We did the same freaking drills all through spring ball, like leading up to like the actual season. And I swear, like our fielding percentage for that year was like 0.987. Like we made like one error for every potential ball in play or whatever it was. Like, of course, that error happened in the damn like tournament where we don't want to make the error. But we
Yeah.
got so good at the fundamentals, it was like second nature to like scoop a ball backhand, right? Or
Yeah.
in this case, like with CrossFit, it's like, okay, am I using my quads appropriately for this movement? Or can I change my movement pattern just ever so slightly to bias my, posterior versus it being quad dominant because I know the next movement is this, right?
Yeah.
And this is where I think like the athlete mentality is kind of a cool thing, and it translates over to like whatever your sport is, right?
Yeah.
And me and my actually, funny enough, guys, me and my gym buddy was like, we should probably go. We want to get our kids into something, and there's a Brazilian jiu-jitsu studio that just opened up, like on our drive to the gym. And he's like, we should just go like spend some time rolling these next couple days. I was like, dude, but I feel like we're gonna hurt ourselves. Like, no doubt.
No,
like,
you'll be
or
fine.
just I'm injury prone. What isn't broken on my body at this point?
Lamar, you have a kid in jiu-jitsu, right? Your daughter's in
I do. My daughter's into jiu-jitsu.
How is that experience?
How old's your daughter?
She's 7.
What age did she get into it?
She got into it late last year. No.
Okay,
Wait, was it earlier? Late last year. So she just turned 7 when she started doing jiu-jitsu.
Do you think she could have handled it at a younger age?
You said what?
Go ahead, Marcos.
Do you think she could have handled it at a younger age than that, or is that like an appropriate age?
Well, so when she started, when I was going to get her interested in doing jiu-jitsu, that's when COVID happened. So we didn't have a kids program for a while. So we just recently got, our kids program back up and running, and she's always been coming to the gym with me anyway. So I was like, you actually want to join jiu-jitsu class? And she was like, yeah. So she's been there ever since we started our kids program back.
So you own your own, do they call it a studio? What do they call like a gym? What is it particular?
Gym, studio, club, dojo, whatever you want to call it. I don't know the specific. No, I don't own it. I'm an assistant instructor where I train at.
Okay, gotcha. And you didn't have to force her; she just watched you do it, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I showed her a few techniques, like when her growing up. She's been to my first tournament with me. She's been in classes with me, and when she found out she can join kids class, I was thinking like she's just gonna do it because I'm doing it. But I'm like, I'll give her a couple weeks. But no, she's like 3 stripes in, and she's like so eager to learn. Like she'll come to me like, tomorrow's Tuesday, right? I'm like, yeah. So we going to class tomorrow? I'm like, yeah, we're going to class. She's like, okay. So
there it is.
It's awesome.
Be a world champion soon enough. Next thing you know, you blink an eye and it's like world champ daughter.
I know, right? I'm rolling with my daughter, right?
Marcos, I think that's your cue. Just give it a try. Give it a shot.
For me or for Zeke? I'm about to get that boy needs a whooping and needs some discipline.
I mean, I think you should try both try it out just so that you know like what your son's getting into, right? And then,
I would say now, funny enough, a lot of the guests that came on my show, they was like, yeah, I got my son or my daughter into it, and the teacher was like, hey, you should come by adults class, and boom, they're blue belts, they're purple belts. So I'd say you both should try it.
Oh, Marcos. Oh man, that's gonna take our relationship to the next level because now it's not just workouts between Marcos and I. It's gonna be like, hey Marcos, you want to roll today? And now I'm gonna bring my gear, all that. So it's gonna be fun. I think jiu-jitsu, I'll be honest with you, jiu-jitsu has created so many relationships and so many doors for me that it's been such a fun thing. But no, I wanted to kind of ask and kind of just push on that. Like, how has that experience been watching your kid do it? Like as a parent, like how do you feel like with that? Like how do you think it's changed your daughter? Like, has her confidence changed? Has her demeanor changed? Like her curiosity to things? Like what's been going on?
Man, it's all the above, man. It's like as soon as I saw her put on that gi, I was just like, try not to have like that proud daddy moment, try not to cry. But yeah, I've seen a big significant change in her demeanor, her attitude, her confidence in herself, like her passion for it. Like she's trying to remember like names of techniques that we've done. She's always talking about it. Like I've met her teacher, and she was like, I had on a jiu-jitsu hoodie. So she was like, oh, so that's what your daughter be talking about. She says y'all do jiu-jitsu and blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, she loves it. Like she really loves it.
I love that. One of the aspects of jiu-jitsu obviously is, hey, we move, we train, we talked about the community, but what other aspects have you changed kind of in your health a little bit there? Like, do you guys kind of like, now that you're training a lot more, you got this competition tournament, like, are you watching what you eat? Do you periodize kind of like your eating, and are you guys mindful of that with kind of like your plans and competition?
Honestly, at first I wasn't too sure where I was going to go with this, with this competing. I did one, and it was like, okay, I'll do another one, and then I did another one, and then another one, and I'm signed up for 2 more. So like now everything, I'm like, okay, if I want to really take this serious and compete, I have to take care of everything on the outside too, and the inside, me personally. So like,
Yeah.
my friend who's a nutritionist, who he got me together with some stuff. My training partners, we work out at the gym together outside of just training. So he's like, if you're gonna take this serious as a competitor, I'm gonna take it serious as a coach. So we've been just busting it now, man. Because after this one, we're going, dog. Like straight to like June, we're pushing it. Like we're about to go in and just wreak havoc this time, man.
It's 12 weeks out. That's 12 weeks out. That's a good amount of change, and stuff like that.
Yeah,
And what
yeah.
weight class are you?
Um, so I competed in the 230 weight class, but I came in at 222. So
Light.
Because that's like
everybody I
ultra
competed
heavyweight
against,
for that division, for those divisions, right?
yeah, 230. I think it's like 240 and up is ultra heavy.
Okay.
And
So
then
you're
under that,
super
supers,
heavyweight.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I was like, the first time I competed at 247, and I was still the smallest guy. I was like, nope, not doing this again. So I got down to like, the weight I'm in now, and I'm still the smallest guy. So I was like, come on, man,
Oh my
I
God.
need somebody my size, man.
You're fighting people that cut weight to get to where you're at, dude.
Right.
Imagine a heavyweight having to cut weight and then have to compete with him. Like, yo, this guy cut to get to where I'm at naturally. This is not cool.
This is not cool, man. And the two guys I went against, man, like they were so jacked. And I was like, I can't keep doing this, man. I can't keep fighting these super strong, heavy guys, man. So
Wait, how
um,
how old are you, Lamar? By the way,
I'll be 36 in 10 days.
so are you in Masters too, or just Masters, right?
Masters, yeah.
Masters. I mean, some of these guys, granted, Marcos. I don't know if it's kind of like CrossFit back in the day, but Jiu-Jitsu is the wild, wild west right now of HRT.
Oh, they're not testing it. It's not like a WADA.
No, it's
not
not even.
anymore.
It's not that it's tested. It's not even contoned. It's supported. Like there are guys probably on needles.
Fuck yeah.
In the tournament, like what are you doing right now? I'm just juicing up before that.
I know, right?
It's like my BPC, I need my peptides so my knee will function.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think IBJJF they said they're gonna stop testing for that stuff.
I think what they're trying to do, and I'll just be honest with you, I think they just absolutely don't care. Like they don't care. They just want to see some of the most jacked, physiqued, craziest competition there ever is, and I'm all for it.
I think it's a smart play from a spectator standpoint, but whenever granted, if everybody's doing it, everybody's doing it, like, so be it, right? Like, I think, shoot, baseball would be more fun if everybody was on juice. Balls would go further. We've seen that era, the golden age of baseball.
Barry Bonds 5,000. Oh my gosh, dude! No, that's so fun. Well, let me ask you. So, Lamar, you're coming down in a weight class, so you're gonna go from you're 222 right now. You're probably gonna go into 215 and below, right?
Yeah.
How's the nutrition plan looking to get into June? I know you're working with the nutritionist. What does that look like? Obviously Marcos and I are in that coaching space. That's what we want to do.
Yep.
Not to try to pick at it, just curious to kind of see what your plan is. And I've coached a lot of jiu-jitsu athletes, champions, mixed martial artists, and Muay Thai fighters myself. Maybe I could chime in and give some pointers as well as some periodization, some ideas for the listeners, yourself, and what are you doing right now though to get down and keep that? What are some of the principles?
Like I literally just started today. I found like a quick workout plan, something I can do on my lunch break at the gym.
Okay.
literally after I get done talking to you guys, I'm about to set up my mats and work out here. Me and my wife is about to drill some stuff. But as far as like nutrition and stuff, I'm still working together to get like a meal plan. Cause that's what really kills me is this, just meal prep or meal planning and trying to stay up and keep all that stuff in order and just be like, yeah, no. Like sometimes I'm like, yeah, no, I don't feel like it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you ever use a meal prep service? Have you ever used like a meal prep service?
I thought about it. Dude, I bounce around so many things to do. Like I'll start a meal prep, like one of those things where it's like, they'll meal prep it for you. I'll get the cart together and then forget about it. Yeah, I need to start taking it more serious now. But all that stuff is, like I said, it's all in the works. I have nothing set in stone or anything like that. So I was actually gonna come to you, Seamus, because I remember we talked about it on my on the episode we did together, and I was like, damn, I know somebody who does this stuff now. So
yeah,
and then we ended up talking now. So I was like, yeah.
Let's do it right now.
Sure.
I'll give you some key principles, and we'll definitely do like a real like consult and everything. Because, and Marcos can chime in as well. I mean, because he knows nutrition periodization so well and stuff. But for combat athletes, as a wrestler doing this from middle school all the way to college, I've had to cut weight so many times. My worst weight cut was like a 22-pound weight cut in 24 hours, and I hurt my shoulder because of that. And like, this is why I do what I do. What I tell people is it's the same principles as weight loss. If you're trying to get ready for summer was 16 weeks ago. You know what I'm saying? Summer was 12 to 16 weeks ago. It's not like, oh, my tournament's next week. It's not like studying for your test and cramming it all out. The body is not built that way. So some principles I like to tell people is do not do a weight cut more than 5% of your body, like in terms of water, the week of. So with that being said, you got to do some math back end wise where you need to be within fighting weight week of to do your water cut, and then be able to be like, okay, 5 days, maybe 3 to 5 pounds max. Do I pull it out with, an Epsom salt bath? The night before? Do I have to weigh in the gi? For those listening, that means they have to put the uniform on, which is another 4 to 6 pounds. Or do they have to just weigh in no gi, which is just the underwear, obviously? Again, the principles are basic, basic nutrition principles. You got to do a little calculation, understand your calories, where they're at. You got to input a lot of protein to maintain your armor that you have on, because you're going to be losing a lot of weight. But here's the problem with jiu-jitsu as compared to like a fitness weight loss challenge. Like right now, Marcos and I are doing a fitness weight loss challenge. Okay, cool. We could do that and we'll lose a lot of weight and we'll be fine. What's the worst thing about Brazilian jiu-jitsu though, Lamar? What's the thing about Brazilian jiu-jitsu though? What's going on there?
Damn cardio, man.
It's not cardio. You're getting choked out left and right.
Oh, that too.
You're getting your joints scrambled up. You're in practice, your arms like this. So you're getting damaged. Like you're not getting damaged like, oh, I'm doing some military press, my shoulder's sore. No, it's no like, I think my shoulder's out maybe kind of thing. And with that being said, you have to be very smart with your food, because if you're going to do a caloric deficit, right? Well, what's that caloric deficit? Because now, is that caloric deficit helping me recover, or is it way too deep that I can't even heal that shoulder? So you have to be in a very nuanced spot. It's very much a lot of biofeedback daily. How do you feel? How much did you hydrate? How much sleep did you get? So there's a lot in that conversation. So with that being said, the big principles are, understanding your water and weight cut, how much you have to do for the gi. Plan that out. You are 12 weeks out from June. So you have about 3 to 6% body fat to lose, which is roughly, I would say for you at 220, roughly about like 8 to 12 pounds of weight to lose, which puts you right into the fighting range. The thing that you have to do there then is, okay, how does the meals look? And meal timing with combat athletes is very similar to like CrossFit athletes, I would say, Marcos, is you have your training session. How do you eat before that training session? And how do you eat after? So there's so much things there, but you have to bring it into account. It's a science. It's not just as intuitive as like, oh, I'm just going to cut all my carbs out. All right, you cut all your carbs out. Guess what happens? You're screwed. You got no energy. And then you
Not
binge.
only that, but like hydration for your ligaments as well, like you just said with the
Yeah.
chokes. Like, I mean, the carbs would, if anything, I would cut the protein down to like, I mean, based on his size, like,
Yeah.
Basically 0.8 per 0.8 grams per pound, right? So
Yeah.
you lean on like 175 grams of protein as like the base, and then try to get more carbohydrate to help with performance and fueling that, because your goal is to cut the weight and not the aesthetic. It's more of the performance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I would also say, Lamar, how many days of lifting or workouts are you doing per week?
3. Right now it's 3 days a week right now.
Keep it there. Keep it there.
Mm-hmm.
Then this is controversial, but you don't necessarily need to do cardio. I know that sounds
okay.
weird.
Well, yeah, he's getting plenty of cardio from the mats. He's getting plenty of cardio from the mats,
You
right?
get so much cardio from the mats.
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask you a question.
Of
Man. This is kind of interesting because we're doing like a live intervention on the for the audience. Like, what the hell are these guys talking about? But let me ask you real quick. Have you ever gassed out in a match?
Of course.
Okay. Let me ask you, do you blame that on your cardio, or do you blame that on the lack that you've never been at that speed before?
I know it's not my cardio. I know it's just over trying to force something, use muscle. I'm straining and grunting. So yeah.
Yeah. I tell people all the time, you don't lack cardio. I had a Jiu-Jitsu Pan Am's champ and a runner-up last year. She goes, Coach, every time I roll with this girl, the first 3 minutes I gas out, and then the match sucks for me. I'm like, my forearms are done. I'm like, okay. And then she goes, yeah, every Saturday we do 10-round Saturday, which is like 6-10-minute rounds. That's 60 minutes straight of like, I'm like, you don't have a cardio problem. You know what you have? You have a game speed problem.
Yeah.
You have a game speed problem. So with that being said, like, you have to plan your next 12 weeks in blocks of how you train. So maybe the first month is more so getting the foundations, getting technical. The second month, ramping it up. Then the last month, right before you taper, the last 2 weeks is game speed stuff. 3-minute situationals where it's like 110%, you got to have that situational stuff, because if you don't feel what it means to be like dying out there, it's not that your cardio, it's because you're like, yeah, you're freaking out. You don't know how to breathe. You're like having an adrenal dump, and it's like,
Yeah.
So
yeah, the prime example here is just like it's a stimulus response issue, right? I actually had this conversation yesterday with a client. Everybody wants to get the fastest time in CrossFit, and sometimes they miss the stimulus altogether because they go for the easiest way of getting the work done, which is great in competition. You don't train that way though. You train to make it as hard as possible so that when you get into the match, people look at you like, what the fuck? You're on another level, dude. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I broke down the idea for my, like, we'll use this benchmark workout known as Isabel as the example here. Isabel is a workout where you do 30 snatches for time.
Oh my God.
Right?
Damn.
At 135, right? At 135. And so a lot of people, every time they see this workout programmed, they always hit it with a quick single. So they just drop it from the top, let it hit the ground, and they go. And they're like, yeah, my best time there is like 150 or like 2 minutes, 220, whatever. They're like, that's good. All right. But the intention that the athlete fails to recognize is that, well, have you ever done it as doubles or as triples or as sets of 4, right? And to me, I'm like, you literally could have the exact same workout on paper every week for 5-6 weeks straight, and then go for broke best time ever. And you're, because you trained it a different way, that new stimulus is like, oh, well, now I know I have the capacity to hang on to this barbell for 10, 15, 20 reps, then finish singles best time ever. And yes, that's shaving off like maybe 20 seconds, but 20 seconds of time for the elite athlete is a huge freaking deal.
It's like, that's a world of a difference.
It's like, literally
huge
like
world of a difference.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think my best time there is for an Isabel is like, I think 127, somewhere like there, which is not like pedestrian by any means, but it's not elite where it's like 1 minute. Like, how else would I get there? I'm not putting the bar down. That's for damn sure. I drop the bar at some point in time, then I've effectively lost my best PR or keeping up with like the field. And of course, CrossFit's a different beast because you're doing multiple events and you have to know kind of when to like shoot your shot, right? Like, hey, like I'm ready for this thing. And it's, again, what Seamus is saying, a lot of people like they're really good out the gate, right? And they're like, oh, I'm like, yeah, but this person's they're gonna fade. They already gamed this workout completely wrong. This is not where it's made, right? And I think jiu-jitsu is kind of the same way here, right? Like, it's not your conditioning suffering, it's the fact that you're not pacing yourself accordingly to the stimulus you're about to get to.
Yeah. And that's a kind of one of those things we kind of like reiterate to our our lower belts, because me and our other brown belt, we roll a lot. And he's finally back on the mat, so we had a good chance to roll yesterday. But they'll watch us and they be like, man, y'all roll 3, 4, 5, 6 times hard. Like, yeah, it looks hard to y'all because we know how to pace ourselves. Like, we don't go in and we're not like, this is all you hear, like, from everybody in the room. But, we're rolling it right. We're rolling it going. And I kept reiterating, like, yo, look, slow down. Man, I can't get this, or I'll get caught with this. Slow down. And the best example I showed them, well, I didn't really show them, but they just kind of like was watching. I was rolling with one of the white belts. He's a wrestler. Strong guy, super fast, super strong.
He ain't a white belt. If he's a wrestler, he ain't a white belt. But yeah, technically,
right. Technically, he's a white belt. So I'm trying my game, and I'm like, oh no, I'm not about to sit here and fight this trend. So I ease back, kept myself relaxed. He's scrambling and rolling and flipping and going for everything. And as soon as I heard that, I was like, okay, it's time. It's time to go for the kill. But they were like, man, you was like, how was you able to keep up with him? I was like, because I wasn't moving. Like, I let him do all the work. Once he got tired, I was like, okay, now I can use my energy and be gone.
That's what I love about jiu-jitsu and like all these martial arts sports. Is like there's also skill, like kind of like what or strategy, as Marcos is saying, is like, do we do 20 first, then 10, or do we do 10 and then 20? Because I was a wrestler. But the thing is, I absolutely refuse to do wrestling with jiu-jitsu because I want to learn the language of jiu-jitsu. They're both sports of grappling. They're just different dialects. There's sambo, there's sumo, there's wrestling, there's savate. There's different forms of these martial arts. There's catch wrestling, but like I was a collegiate wrestler, so it's folk style, freestyle, Greco. But you got to have some strategy. So, one of the things I do too is I let people roll me around. And then, like you said, the moment that like they take a breath, I'm like, oh, it's my turn. Let's go. Like, and then they realize like they've been ramping it up, and then this is them, and I'm just keeping up with them. But the thing is, at some point they just can't keep up because I'm like, it's just technique. It's not even like you're trying to out athlete them, and it's just because you just took a deep breath. You took a deep breath. and that's strategy. That's super important.
It's like, would you want to be the like in the field for a sport? Would you want to be the strongest or the most technically proficient? Right, like
you want to be technical.
Yeah, and same thing with CrossFit again. Like that's the parallel here is the more technically proficient you are, the less energy you're spending over the modality. Meaning the better the outcome is going to be, right? And again, it's a little different than a combat sport, but like you have to know where you're strong, where you're not, where you can breathe, where those things matter, how to breathe, how to brace, how to think, right? Like because it's mentally exhausting. And granted, that was my one example was just a barbell, which is for a CrossFitter, that's like again their apparatus, but then. The staple CrossFit workout is Fran. It's 21, 15, 9 thrusters and pull-ups, right?
Oh.
And yeah, right. And it's forearms in different ways. Your wrist is in 2 different positions. Your legs are getting taxed. You're breathing so heavily. But for a lot of people, doing that workout, like that's one where it's not really a game time strategy, like the barbell singles example. You're you're trudging along through each individual piece. Of course, you don't want to set the barbell down on the set of 21 or 15 or the 9, but
sprint through it.
the breathing and the things that come with it are something different. And the after effect, God Almighty, don't even. There's a reason that has a cough that's associated with it, and they call it Fran lung or Fran cough. It's like a dry cough that you get. Granted, it mainly happens in the desert because it's just dry here. But I remember the first time I did that work. I remember the first time I did that workout, and I evaded it. I'd finally gotten so proficient at everything that like I didn't even get the effect, the effects that everybody talks about doing the workout. Why it's so bad. I was like, maybe I didn't go hard enough. I was like, yeah, you did that in 2:22, dude. Like, that's not terrible. Again, it's not 2 minutes, which is like elite, but like, again, comparing yourself to that, like it's 10% more. That's the difference between really, really good and elite status. 10%, which on paper in time, what's 20 seconds? Doesn't look like a whole lot. But then that over, again, any competition, right? Again, 20 seconds is enough time for you to hopefully slip out of something, right? And then get somebody to tap, right? And, it's all about pacing, no matter what it is. Even in the sprints, it's about pacing, which makes no sense, but it's true.
Yeah, it really is all about pacing. But no, Lamar, yeah, I think definitely let's connect one-on-one for sure, because I think I gave you some principles there. I don't it was a little off the cusp there, but I think we should connect one-on-one. I'll get you my
Yeah, for sure.
I'd love to really come up with a combined plan for you that's super beneficial, because there's so much more. But for those listening, if you're into the jiu-jitsu or just into the CrossFit, like most people think of training as a periodization, but what Marcos and I are also talking about too is like nutrition is a periodization as well. There is seasons, off season and on season with your nutrition, and you have to be very nuanced with that, especially if you're trying to sharpen the spear per se, to be like, okay, it's kind of like an Olympic level athlete. Hey, 12 weeks, the base is big, but 3 weeks out, 2 weeks out, 1 week out, you got to be on point day of, got to be on point day of. But with that being said, I want to just follow up with a few more questions. With jiu-jitsu, I think one of the questions you kind of had for me was like, how did it change your life? How has it impacted your life? In all that sense, and yeah, like that would be just my question there.
Oh, how did it impact my life?
Yeah.
Man, in a major way, man. I'm not afraid to talk about this. I've talked about this on my own show. I talked to other people about it, but yeah, I remember at one point, dude, I was extremely suicidal. It just, one day just life just felt so bad, but I was like, you know what? I'm just going to just push into jiu-jitsu. Like, I'm just going to spend as much time as I possibly can doing jiu-jitsu. So I was a purple belt, as a matter of fact. I was getting ready for, I was a purple belt getting ready for brown belt. And I was just working out and training every single day just to get my mind off of whatever that was bothering me. Because just dealing with issues with my mom's health, marital issues, and just work, and just everything was just collapsing around me. So I was just like, nope, I just need to just indulge myself in something that I know that's going to take my mind off of this. And this was just jujitsu. So I was just boom, 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 training. And I blinked. I got my brown belt, and I was like, oh, okay, I guess I'm not as bad off as I thought. So, and that's just been like my whole thing from like everything, like from here on out. Like every time I feel extremely stressed, I go train. I'm like, nope, go train.
I appreciate you sharing that, man. I mean, thank you for sharing that. I mean, that's
no problem, man.
That's a heavy weight to hold, and that's a heavy burden. And I'm glad you get to share that. And I'm glad that you get to share the message of finding something to do that. So if anyone is listening and they are having a struggle, like you got to find something too, whether that is jujitsu, whether that's getting choked out, getting your joints manipulated, or maybe doing CrossFit, throwing barbells overhead, either or. But
it's all therapy, man. It's all therapy.
Yeah, it's all therapy, man, for sure.
And I think we just don't do enough hard shit anymore, like physically hard. Like there's nothing more rewarding than rewarding your body and mind with like accomplishing something that you feel like you can't do. And that's like every day in the gym. I don't know if I'm gonna hit this today, but I'm gonna try, right? Like, I mean, that was literally me yesterday. I'm snatching to get ready for a competition in 3 weeks. And I was like, well, it's a 1RM and I haven't tested my 1RM. And so I just was like, let me just see. I felt like dog shit. Speaking of, I'm like, I got to test it though. Like, I might not feel good that day either. Like, whatever. But warming up, I'm like, I'm achy, my shoulders, my joints. I got up to 225. I was like, that wasn't bad. 235, that felt solid. 245, it's usually like my hit or miss weight. Hit it, and I was like, cool. Like, if I hit that in training, I'm generally thrilled. Like, that's like a pretty solid number for me. All right, cool. Let's go for 255. Wasn't there for that day, but I'm like, the fact that I got there, I was like, all right, like this competition in 3 weeks, simultaneous with losing a little bit of weight, leveraging what Seamus was talking about, my periodization. Yeah, I'm trying to actively lose, but I got fat mass to lose, right? Like I purposely hover a little heavier, knowing I can manipulate myself like that in a deficit to like lose, quote, more fat in the 3 week period, right? But I should be like primed to perform, I feel, because I'll be like at the right body weight from gymnastics. And it's like I feel excited to do those things, and the hard work and the mental like relief that training gives me is great. Now, let's couple that also with community, right? You get to then go in with your community of people when you have a gym that is a class setting, right? Doing hard things with other people. They're like, yo, I saw that throw, right? Or yo, I saw that lift, right? Like, or I saw that move you've been working on, right?
Yeah.
People, they take notice, and that helps you feel good. You're like, yeah, I've been working on that. You like that, huh? You know, like there's something about that you're just like, I got one for you. You didn't even know I had that in my tool belt in the arsenal, man.
Oh yeah.
And I could, you know, and it's like that. And, you know, it's the camaraderie. I feel like you're talking about feeling these low points. I'm not gonna lie, I felt that way too during COVID. I was training on my own every day, like going and driving across town in a barren wasteland, right? Going into LVAC where it was another barren wasteland with a fucking mask on, right? And I'm like, why am I even doing this right now? Like, am I actually getting any benefit from it? I was like, well, you do feel pretty good. I was like, all right, I guess I'm getting some benefit. And then, you know, and then come full circle, training with training partners again. Every single time, it's like, oh, like I'd been so freaking focused on doing all this stuff for myself for like, oh, my composition needs to look a certain way. I forgot how much training with other people, lifting them up with me, helps me feel better, you know? And again, like I'm still going to go by myself. Training partner was sick last week. He's like, dude, nature's deload hit me. He's like, I'm fucking sick.
I like that. I like that.
Little kids, Lamar understands this. When a kid gets sick, you're probably not too far behind, right?
Yeah. Oh man, when I tell you that killed me for January, dude. I was getting ready. Oh yeah, I was getting ready for Grabber Industries, and I was training. Kids went back to school. I picked my daughter up, and she's like, "Hi, Daddy," and she said, "I was like, oh no, oh no."
I like your heart. No. Oh my god.
But it's so funny though, because he says that, and that does happen, and it has like, as you're pushing, like we've been pushing, he literally hit like a 2RM belt squat like the day before, and he's like, dude, I think I'm sick. And I was like, I think that belt squat took your soul and your immunity, bro. Like
you just went a little too hard that day, and then next thing you're out for a week. No,
but overreaching in training, man, like your immune system gets taxed, and then you're around the kids, and then you get that little sickness. And yeah, like I told him, I texted him I went into his office, and I was like, look, man, you're gonna be fine. I know it sucks this week, but like, dude, a week off, like after overreaching like we have been, you're fine. It's actually, the studies actually show that it might be better. So, you know, I'll try to deload this week with you. And sure enough, I didn't really do a good job because I suck at it personally.
I also wanted to say one thing, dude. Getting back to work with people, getting back to jiu-jitsu after COVID, like there's no better glue than struggle, you know? That glue of struggle, you and your people, your team doing jits together or lifting together, it's so good. And what I love about the community too, because Lamar's like a brown belt, like what you get to see with higher belts or other rooms, or like if you go to another CrossFit gym, it's like you've been used to your times or you've been used to certain techniques, right? When you go with other people, they show you something new, or they show you something that you do really well, but they give you the one little trick in there, you know, that you're like, but your whole world changes, and like that's what you drill for the whole week. You're like, dude, I figured this thing
Yeah.
out. Like, for example, like this is jiu-jitsu speak, but I play Z guard. Okay, Z guard is like I'm laying down on my side, and I'm basically like coaxing my client to come in. You know, come in, come in, and like I was talking to Lamar before, it's like, do I either grab the leg or the arm? I remember my buddy recorded me, and he said, because he's really good at this position, he goes, dude, right here. He showed me a video. He's like, right here, you have this, and it. As soon as he showed me that, it unlocked like a whole nother level of curiosity in my head. You know what I'm saying? Like you see that from your partner, you see that from your friends. You're like, that's possible. And when you realize when it's possible, when you believe that it's possible, your whole world changes. Like something changes, you know, and you're like, it's possible. And then you just start doing that thing. you have to
Man.
see it first.
Cause I end up like for the first time I cross trained with another guy. His name is Lear. He was on the episode like one of the earlier episodes of the podcast.
Yeah.
And you know, rolling with training with these guys was just like I felt like I just stepped on the mats for the first time. You know, the energy matched our schools, but you know, the way they trained, how hard they trained, because they were a competitive school. So this is one of their competitive class. So he was like, so the instructor was like, hey, you know, pace yourself. You know, you fit in where you fit in. You know, you take your time. And I'm like, okay, well, cool. You know, it's jiu-jitsu. But these dudes were going 90 minutes strong, like rolling for 90 minutes, and I'm sitting here looking like, what the hell, man? But it was fun though. It was a very good experience. I did learn a lot from some of the other guys because what was fun about it was no-gi. So no one knew I was a brown belt. I didn't know none of their belt ranks. So it was like we was all learning from each other, and it was amazing. So fun.
I love that.
Man.
I love that.
That's like I don't remember what podcast I listened to that talked about that same principle, Seamus, and same with you, Lamar, that you have limiting beliefs on the ceiling when you only see a certain time or a certain number up on the whiteboard or the PR board. You're like, all right, strongest person in here is 400. You're like, that must be fucking heavy. But then when you see a board where it has like 600, you're like, that sounds really fucking heavy. You know what I mean? Like, but at least then you know it's possible. So like you're working towards this thing that is like that, the ceiling, especially if you're like a competitive person.
Yeah.
And again, like your community can either be a benefit or a detriment in some of those capacities. And I've basically been a CrossFit nomad as it pertains to my Vegas career. And I like being that person because I get to immerse myself amongst so many different communities. So I would be teaching at one gym while working out at another. And, you know, I also had friends at another. And like, again, like it's still a community sense for the city as a whole with CrossFit because it's very niche, right? It's still niche, even though it's grown in popularity. But I like the fact that I was like, let me go see what this person's doing. All right, that community has this going for them. This person has this community going for them. This person's the competitor community. I need to go there because I got the floor mopped with me when those people showed up at the competition. I know cream at the top, so I need to go train with them. And I did so. And it led me to, you know, when I got to my peak level. And it was amazing. And that, like, again, like I like the struggle. I personally hate competing. But I love the day-to-day struggle. You know what I mean? Like the competition day, I always get sick because it's like, I want to perform. My body's doing this. It's a stressful environment, spike a slight fever. But the struggle with all your buddies during that time leading to that being, whether it's team or individual, right? Honestly, that's what's kept me so happy. I look back at the people that I had around back in 2016. So 7 years ago, I was like, damn, I don't know if we'll be able to replicate that stimulus, that community and happiness that every day we'd show up and be happy to see each other. It's wild, you know, but we're still trying to make it happen. Hell, I might have to open up my own gym to make it happen in the future, you know, but it's a cool thing. I want to pass that on to other people. I mean, I don't want to have a brick and mortar business because I know that I'm probably going to be pissing away money, but you know, I think if I get to what's that?
Who knows? Maybe it's CrossFit and then some jiu-jitsu on the side.
I think the ones that will be successful are multifaceted. There was an MMA CrossFit gym here for a number of years. They had the Pit, and then they also had CrossFit Sin City CrossFit out of the same facility. But then there was just some like weird tension between the two different owners because they're two different schools of thought, you know? So as long as there's a dividing wall and splitting up the space so that they're not like sharing, like trying to yell over each other in communication of the class, it can work. But as soon as it's all just an open concept idea, it might be nice for a kitchen, doesn't work too well for two gyms under one roof.
Oh yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah, definitely can see how that could be some issues.
Yeah, I mean, I right now, like, I have a friend out. I'm not so sure where she's at, but they're like a Jean-Jacques affiliated, like jiu-jitsu gym, but they both are black belts underneath, and then they have a fitness center in there as well. But I don't know which one is which, like, because it's their bread and butter, so it's not like there's two different philosophies. I think it's both philosophies. Like, they're just doing fitness and they're doing jiu-jitsu on the off hours, because you can't be doing, like, with fitness, right? Like, your best fitness times are like 5 a.m. to 10 a.m. if you're going to do classes, right? Jiu-jitsu is probably going to be like one 5 a.m. class, maybe a noon class for the people that don't have jobs. And then, like, or the ones that are like,
and the 4 to 8 hour.
Yeah, and then you have the 4 p.m. to like 8 p.m., which is like a good spot for fitness and nutrition, fitness and jiu-jitsu as well. So it's very much like, you know, sometimes, you know, running a few gyms like that before, like, we've kind of had that. Yeah, it's a good way of getting some, you know, income and stuff like that. But it's true, it's two totally different philosophies. You have to see how to run it. But let's do this. Let's kind of finish up here. I just want to be cognizant of Lamar's time. But Lamar, talk about your podcast, where people can find you, what you're up to, and yeah, we'll finish it off there.
Man, you know, first I want to say I appreciate you guys for you know, inviting me on, man. This was fun talking to you again. I know we're gonna talk again in the future, but yeah, you can find me on Instagram, Talk Your Jits Podcast, Facebook, YouTube. You just Google search Talk Your Jits Podcast, and it'll be one of the first things to pop up. But right now, going into the future, man, just like I said, just getting ready for the next competition. And just training, man. That's really it for me right now.
Awesome.
I just got done recording, I guess you want to say, the first half of season 2 of the podcast. So I'm going to take a few weeks off before I record some more. But other than that, man, just grinding. That's it.
You know what we'll have to do, Marcos? Maybe we'll do a podcast, Lamar, on nutrition, and like nutrition and strength and conditioning, like cycles,
periodization. Yeah, with athletes. Yeah,
your athlete. I could do
for sure.
Yeah, I could do the fitness component, like with the strength and conditioning component, because like I trained under the Rue Strong. I was mentored under him, Phil DeRue, who's like a strength and conditioning coach for Dustin Poirier, Joanna Young, Jacek, RDJ, like UFC fighters, and went through his mentorship and his accreditation. So I could talk more so on like how to get ready for your 6 weeks, 12 weeks out kind of programming. And then Marcos can like cover like more so the nutrition periodization. And then I can kind of cover maybe some of the weight cutting strategies. If you want, we could do that, you know?
Oh man, yeah, definitely, dude. That's definitely I don't know if you're talking to me, but I'm with it. But yeah, I'm all for it.
Well, we're asking you. We're inviting ourselves to do it.
Yeah, we're just inviting ourselves now.
No, this was. I mean, because Seamus, I was telling you that before. Like, you know, I wanted you to talk about what you were doing. You know, other than jujitsu. But no, I was going to ask you to come back anyway, because I'm like, this is just as important as training on the mats as, you know, as training off the mat. So this is something that, if people who want to compete, they think about competing, want to get, you know, more healthier doing jujitsu, you know, there's a lot of ways to do it. So yeah, the invite was coming, so the door was already open.
Yeah. I was just kind of getting ahead of myself, so I appreciate it.
I think
no, you're good, brother.
I think being collaborative in the sense of, even if it's like, hey, episode, I don't think anybody's done cross promotion amongst platforms where they drop the same episode, even though it's a different number for theirs. We could be the first, just saying.
Yeah, I'm with it.
And that way it's like distributed amongst both people. We're obviously all trying to talk about now a sport specific version of like what the training methodology and the nutrition methodology looks like and why those need to align. And speaking as the guy who's obviously done a good deal of CrossFit training, and then now I just lean heavily on nutrition. When I got my nutrition in order, my peers thought I was taking gear, going back to that conversation. And my Zach comes up to me again, the owner of the gym. He's like, bro, if you're going to pop positive, you better tell me now, because we're going as a team. And I was like, bro, I'm like 20, whatever at the time. I'm like, it was, 22 at the time. I was like, dude, like, no, I'm not. I promise you, I just got my nutrition in order, and it changed my composition, my abilities. And that's why I'm so passionate about like talking about periodization, because I was once like everybody else. Like, I knew a decent amount. I understood like calories, but then like getting into the weeds and just paying a little more attention to nutrient timing, like Seamus mentioned, it literally changed my world. And I still view myself as that person. And that's why I made this other like shred challenge as a way to help me get like leaner for my 30th birthday. Because I still want to be a performance person, but unfortunately, dad of two, it's just not in the cards right now, right? They take priority. And so I need a little bit of something to like look away. The only way I know how to do that, unfortunately, though, is push myself into the ground. So I'm trying to do something a little different.
Yeah, man, trust me, I know. I got a 7 and 3-year-old, so I'm in that same boat, brother.
Same gap as me, man. I get it. It is, it's a blessing every day, but man, we're going to the terrible twos now with my daughter, and whew, she, well, just to say the least.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Knows all too well, man. Knows all too well.
Well, Lamar, it was great having you on. For those that are wanting to learn more about the Tokyo Jits podcast, follow Lamar Smith there. Marcos, any last closing words? Anything else you want to throw in there? Any updates? Anything else?
I got one more question for Lamar. Sorry, I know. And then I'll put the outro piece to it. But so I had little technical issues, but getting my son into it, like, do you think he just turned 5? Is this like an appropriate age? Because like I missed that. If you answered it, I'm sorry, but I was dealing with this Wi-Fi issue.
Oh no,
should I wait a little bit to like 6-ish? I mean, again, how many days should I get him into? Just once a week, twice a week? Like, what's the right cadence?
So that it kind of varies from school to school. The one thing about kids class is it's very slow pace. So it's not like a adult class where they're gonna go over like 3, 4, 5 techniques in a day. It's a 45-minute, class where they'll go over something basic. I'm only speaking because it's how I do it how we do it at our school, but it's very slow. It's very, direct. So I just say, yeah, give it a shot. It just depends on what their school is. Usually it's 2 days a week.
Okay.
Like, jujitsu classes, because we have 2 days a week for kids and adults. So yeah, it's just a matter of just let him try it. See if he can, comprehend what's going on, he'll be fine for sure.
Yeah, he does well with visual instruction and seeing, and then obviously like he does well with cues. Honestly, I'm like, let's try this, and like I kind of take him through, movements and like just body awareness stuff, and he's actually pretty good for a 5-year-old. So
yeah, man.
I think I attribute that to soccer, which he's doing right now. And but again, I want him, he's a little bit of a crybaby. I want him to toughen up a little bit, and I want him to also listen. Like so I'm like, I remember at his age doing, I think it was karate inside of like my preschool. And I just remember, breaking some boards, getting some stripes. That was the end of my martial art career until, maybe until my 30th birthday, where we're gonna change it up. And I feel inspired. And like you just said, 2 days a week on paper, it doesn't seem like it's enough to get good at the thing, but it's probably enough. Like it's actually as much as I probably need. So I'll tell my training partner, hey, let's cut out one of these lifting days. We're gonna get into jujitsu after this CrossFit comp. You heard it here first.
Yeah, man. It'll definitely help, man. It'll definitely get you there. But yeah, man. If you got any other questions, like outside of just today about getting your kids started, or about for you yourself, man, hit me up, dude.
Oh, yeah, I will.
Anytime.
I will. I might even just tag you on some posts once I get them in there, because it's cool to hear this. And like I said, this is like it's blowing up, obviously, and there's a lot of people showing a lot of engagement in it. And I'm like, you know what? If I start with my kid doing it, I'm already there. I might as well join in on the fun, So I just want to find things that is good for again, like the mind, you're obviously speaking highly of that, like how it impacted your ability to cope with things. And you know what, that's the thing we're struggling with my son with right now is his emotional skills. So maybe it'll help him because he's having this new focus. And he's like, Dad, look at this skill we learned today. And he throws me into the corner, even though I'm 4 times his weight, you know?
It's definitely a confidence booster, man. I say do it. I say I'm 100% behind him learning jiu-jitsu, man.
All right, man. Well, that was my last question, Seamus. And I think in terms of other updates for everybody that's still listening, we got our TMPP Summer Shred 23 going on right now. It's a completely free, community-driven group. It's helping me get my fat ass in shape for my 30th birthday because that's what my wife said that I needed. And we're giving out some just free resources, trying to build some camaraderie amongst people and help them get to their summer body with it. So if people would like to join that, if you want to get started, you might be a week behind, but it doesn't mean you can't see great results. So let's go ahead and you can join in on the fun with us. We'll get you all those resources your way. And, hopefully you guys can learn a little bit more about our nutritional philosophies as we go through this with you.
Awesome. I will end it there, guys.
Good.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Lamar. Appreciate y'all.
No problem.